Hi,
All right.
everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I have such a special treat for you. I have my girlfriend and mastermind buddy, Crystal Mendez, on the call today. Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Nina. So
Welcome.
excited to be here.
I'm so excited that you're here. Welcome to my podcast. This is a podcast in the series called Woman Liberated. And I'm really just bringing on women to share a little part of your life with us, a part of your life that you feel like you've gone through something and you've grown through it, a part of your liberation story. And before we get started on that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. I am a mom of three kids. So two of my kids are already done with high school and have moved out. I have
Ah,
one 11-year-old at home with me. I'm also a dog mom. I have three dogs, and
mm,
I am married currently in my master's degree program. And so that's what I'm going through right now is just trying to get through all of the schooling.
mhm,
That's a
mhm.
season of my life right now. But
Oh, I bet it's a
yeah,
lot.
so I'm a nurse and I do work from home. So I get to be home with my kids and my husband and my dogs. I live in San Antonio and I have I have gone through some things. I think just
Yes.
like all of us, right?
Yeah. And tell us about some of those things. Thanks for sharing with us your life. I love it. Your life feels very full, right? Of amazing things right
Yes.
now. Tell us some of the things that you've gone through and grown through in your lifetime so
I
far.
just want to tell you first that I think that this is such an interesting series to put together because we can all learn from each other. Like we've all gone through different things and I feel like if there's more of this content around, like it'll help each of us in different parts of our life. So you might not relate to what I've gone through, but it doesn't mean you won't go through it later.
Oh,
And those
mhm.
tidbits will help, I feel like. I'm all
Yeah.
about like hacks and tips and tricks. And I wish there was a hack for life, but unfortunately,
Oh,
we just gotta get through
yeah.
it, right?
And maybe it's this, right? Maybe it's like,
Yeah.
maybe the hack is like women sharing with other women how they've broken free from things, right? Because I think a lot of times we feel like we live on an island and nobody else is going through what we're going through. And it's just not
Exactly.
true. Just not true.
Yeah, I grew up with a lot of the good girl mentality. Like you have to be a good girl, you have to get good grades, you have to be nice to people.
Mhm.
And so expressing any type of aggression or anger or like this is what I want makes me feel so bad about myself. Like I'm
Mm,
like, oh, this isn't the nice girl thing to do.
yeah.
So I've been coming up with ways to like flip that for myself, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things that I went through a couple years ago, and this is back in I want to say 2021, coming out of the pandemic and or 2020, I don't remember. But anyway, it's about, I mean, basically letting go of a friendship that was over, like 18 years long, and realizing that I don't have to stay friends with people just because I've known them since I was a kid or since I was 18 or whatever. If I
Mhm.
don't fit into a group or with a person, I don't have to feel bad about being the mean girl and
Yeah.
saying no and setting boundaries and all of that. So I had been friends with this girl, who I still have love in my heart for. It was just a time for me to let go. But I had felt so much anxiety from this girl, wanting my time and attention when I couldn't give it, and like just not giving me space, like wanting all of my time and attention while I was traveling to my hometown. And so she kept messaging me and like was jealous of me like hanging out with childhood friends. And she had this story in her head about what was going on when it wasn't at all. like she thought I was going to a party with one of my childhood best friends, and then I purposely like missed her party to be with this other person. And
Mm.
that's not what happened. Like there was never a party. Like there
Yeah.
was never a party. And if she would have asked, I would have clarified. But
Mhm.
I'm the kind of person, and what I was going through at that time was I'm not going to explain myself. I don't feel like anybody deserves an explanation from me unless it's like my husband, you
Mm.
know, like
Mhm.
I don't need to explain to anybody where I am.
Yeah.
And I feel like I give so much grace to others and, you know, the benefit of the doubt. And I just want that in return with my friendships.
Yeah.
So right away, the messaging of like, oh, you're a different person, you didn't want to come see me, like you went to this party, and like, and I'm just thinking, that never happened. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like,
Yeah.
I was really heartbroken, but I was also trying to come into my power of this is my boundary.
Mhm.
And, you know, this person has pushed my boundary over the years and I've let it go. I've let it go. And this time I'm not going to continue.
Ah, yeah.
So I ended the friendship, which I mean, in this day and age means like you take them off your Facebook, right? Which is
Right. Yes.
it's so it's so silly. But she wrote me this really long message, and by that point, I had so much anxiety and kind of despair of like, I can't believe that like this is happening. You twisted up a story about me in your own head. Had you just talked to me, we could have cleared this up.
Yeah.
Um, but so yes, let you know, no longer friends on Facebook, no
Yep.
longer reaching out. And this wasn't something like, oh, this just happened one time. It was um almost like a chore to talk to this person every single time because something was always wrong. Like nothing could ever go right. And like you talked about before we started recording, I like to flip, right? So I look at what's
Yes.
wrong and then I like to flip the frame and just try to figure out like how can we get out of this? Because if you focus on what's wrong, the wrong things are going to keep happening. You
Yep.
know, yeah, let's focus on what's wrong. Let's identify the problem and then let's pull ourselves out of it. How can we do that?
Yes.
And not everybody can do that. I get that. It took me a
Mhm.
long time to get to being able to do that for myself. But this was somebody that never could do that. And I
Yeah.
felt, um, like I said, I felt like it was a chore to be friends with this person.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me to be friends with this person. And I think um, that is a good way to identify like what kind of relationships do I need to let go of in my
Yeah.
life. Yeah.
And that is such a powerful, thank you for sharing. It's so powerful because many of us women walk through this, right?
Yeah.
Like I can think of, I'm sure the people who are listening, if you're listening to this, I invite you to think about, are there people that you still have in your life that it feels like a chore to be in a relationship with them? And then why are you still in the relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like, is it because you don't want to be bad, right? I'm using air quotes for those of you
Yeah.
listening.
Don't want to
Like, you
be the
don't want to
bad
be the
girl.
bad girl, right? And then you feel bad, or you feel, for me, it was obligation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have a high school friend that I felt obligated to because I was raised, I leaned on her and her family a lot and they supported me in a lot of ways. And then you just feel obligated that you're supposed to be friends with them still.
Yeah.
Do you remember how long ago was that for you?
So that was in it was either 20, no, it must have been 2021 because nobody traveled in 2020. So we
Yeah.
traveled in 2021. So it was
Yeah.
right on the out of
That's
the
pretty
pandemic.
recent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. Actually, I was
Mhm.
thinking about it because like I said, I still have a lot of love for this person in my heart. Don't wish her anything, you know, bad. I wish her the absolute best, but I just can't be present for that relationship anymore. Like I'm just not available for that kind of energy, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And I think it's a big invitation for all of us women to know that there's seasons and that we don't have to stay in a relationship. And it doesn't mean that something's wrong with that person or something's
Right.
wrong with you, or, we can just liberate ourselves from the story we're telling ourselves, right? The story of like, I have to be good and I have to stay in this relationship and I have to not have boundaries and all those things. So,
Yes.
wow, that's a powerful story. How's life been different since then?
Um, I think it gave me like strength and power, like to trust myself about people.
Mm.
And I was in a group of friends actually 2 years ago, and it was like a lot of girls. And right away, I could just tell, probably like 6 months into the friendship, that this wasn't my group. So I was able to leave faster and not feel bad about it and just say, like, wish you guys the best, not, not going to be not hanging out with y'all. And
Yeah.
it wasn't a big deal. Whereas the other friendship that ended, that's 18 years of friendship. That was devastating. Even though I
Oh,
was the one that decided to end the friendship, it caused a lot of anxiety, a lot of it's like a breakup, it's like a
yeah.
heartbreak.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can only imagine the grief you experienced. And
Yeah,
I
you
can
go
really
through it
relate to
and then
that.
you're like, did I do something wrong? And you're second guessing yourself for so
Mhm.
long. And yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing that story. I know I resonate with it. Like it like really is hitting my heart. And I feel the grief of the ending of things, right? Like the
Yeah.
grief of like this was that season of your life and you can remember all the amazing things, right?
Yeah.
And all the support that she and you provided for each other
Right.
and then just allowing something to dissolve can be just painful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And for those of you who are listening, Crystal just alluded to, I call Crystal in my mind. When I think of Crystal, I think of the reframe queen, queen of reframe. Because if you go to her Instagram page and she'll share it with you later on at the end, um, you will notice that she's like has such amazing tips for positivity and how to really reframe things in your life. So you can have a better experience of life.
Yes. And
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like with the good girl mentality, we think that we don't I want to say, like, the way I want to say it is, we don't deserve to choose who we get to be around. Like, we have to be around everybody
Oh,
that,
yes.
because when you grow up in a Latino family, like,
Mhm.
you have to say hello and goodbye to every single person at the party,
With a hug
or
and a
you're
kiss on the
rude.
cheek. Yeah.
Yeah, every,
Yes.
and you have to accept every family member no matter what.
Mhm.
And I know that's changing for our generations, which
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that letting go of that friendship, like, brought me a power. Like, I don't have to accept just anybody in my life.
Oh,
That is
yes.
really important. Like, I'm extremely picky who I allow around my children, who I
Mhm.
allow even to step foot inside of my home. I
Yes.
can count on one hand the amount of parties that we've had in our home, just because
Yeah.
we're really picky about who gets to be in our space.
Yeah. Oh, full body chills, full body
Yeah,
chills. Because as women growing up in a Latino household as well, we were not taught boundaries for our body
mhm.
for when it was a no, I don't want to give you cousin or uncle or whoever a hug,
Yeah.
right? I no, I don't want to. And oh wow, kudos to you for breaking the cycle.
Thank you.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that because I know you shared with me what it's like being the eldest child.
Eldest daughter in a
Yeah.
Latino family.
Mhm.
I am the eldest of five girls. I started babysitting when I was 8 years old. And so I was sharing with you the cultural and societal expectations. So I had this pressure on me when I became a parent, and I thought that I had to raise my kids like how, like, the rules that my parents set. I thought I had to continue those, right? And I don't know why it took me so long to flip that framework. I wish
I,
I would have done it right away. And that's so funny. But I had all this pressure, and I felt like I was constantly frustrated because you're never going to live up to that made up pressure in your head. You know, somebody's always going to have something to say about how you parent in your, I mean, at least in the Latino families, like
Yes.
everyone's talking crap all the time, right? And so they're always going to have something to say. But it was finally realizing, like, you know what, you made a lot of mistakes with me, like to my parents, like you made so many mistakes, like I don't think I need to live up to any of your expectations with my mothering.
Yeah.
That, and then seeing my kids as uh, not as extensions of me, like
Mm.
absolutely not as extensions of me. And I'll give you an example, but seeing them or not as extensions or reflections of me, but they are who they are. And they're
Yes.
going to like things that I do not like, that I would not approve of. And that's okay. That is part of their life experience. So there was a friend who told me how upset she was, and she got into a big fight with her kids on the way to school because her kid, she refused to wear a coat. And
Ah,
so she was, you know, yelling at her kid in the car saying, "What do you think they're going to think about me as your mom because you're not wearing a coat?" And I immediately recognized that feeling. Um, because that's who I used to be.
yeah.
And I remember having the coat fight with my kids. Like, you have to wear a coat. By the time my kids got older, I was like, I don't care what you wear, just let's get out of the house
Yes.
sometime, like wear whatever you want. But for a very long time, I was that same mentality. What are people going to think of me because of how you show up in the world? And
Mhm.
that's not a good pressure. I mean, that's exactly the same societal, cultural expectations that I was trying to break from, and I was doing it again.
Yes.
Like, so being able to let go and let myself see my kids as they are them. They are just who they are, and it has nothing to do with who I am as a woman, who I am as a mom, who I am as a human. Like, that
Yeah.
changed. That changed. I think that kind of like let me be a calmer, like more of a, I guess, chill mom versus,
Mhm.
constantly on them because I'm worried that, oh, society wants you to, be in college right now. We should be moving into college dorms right now. And
Yes.
my kids aren't doing that right now. They've chose different things to do. So it's
Yeah.
okay.
Oh my gosh, that's powerful. Like I have everything you were saying, I experienced that as well. Right? Like I need to make sure your hair looks perfect because then I'll be a good mom. People will see me
Yes.
as a good mom. And like I remember when my daughter started going into like after 8, 9, 10, 11 age where they're like wearing hoodies every day, and we were in
Oh God.
Washington State, right? And so that's all they did there. There was really not like style like in Texas where I was raised. And I would just be like, "Oh my gosh, you're wearing that again?" And like, what am I going to look like? But like you said, it's really instilled in us. It's kind of engraved. Like you have to look like this so I won't look bad, right? And so I remember
Mhm.
trying to like braid her hair the best I could, or I mean, just as you're saying that, I'm like, whoa, yeah, that it's trying to control something and also trying to control a narrative that really who gives a shit about, right? Like,
I
who
know, I
is-
swear. Like, I don't think the teachers are going to be like, "Oh my God, your mom is like the worst mom ever because you're not wearing a coat today." Like,
Yeah,
and even if they did, I don't care. I
right.
don't care.
Yes.
Like,
Oh, the coat thing is big, right? How dare you? And growing up, I don't know, what do you think about this? For me, it was like growing up poor
yeah.
and just calling that out. It's like there were times I didn't have socks, clean socks to wear or a coat to wear. And I think what happened for me was like, how dare you not wear a coat? Like,
Yeah.
right?
When
Like
you didn't
we
have
didn't have
one.
a coat,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and I think it came off as like the audacity of you. Like, how could you not, right? And those are the things that like I lived with this idea that I had to control everything about my daughter's environment to protect her, but underneath that was probably what you're saying, this idea of how will it make me look then?
Yeah.
Right? Am I not providing for her? And so that is a powerful thing to release because then you get to just exhale, like I just like get to exhale and let them be kids.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I get a perfect chance. Like I wish I could go back and do this again with the older kids so that it could be better for them.
Mm.
But at least I have time now with my youngest. And so
Yeah.
she went through the hoodie phase last year, but it was like my husband's hoodies. So she's tiny, like short, like me. And she's got this grown man's hoodie. And I'm just like, oh my God, to the point where I'm like, I'm going to hide this hoodie because this
Oh my
doesn't look like, I'm not trying to control, but I guess I kind of am because this does not look good on you. It's like to your knees, ma'am. Like, wear
Yes.
my hoodie.
Right, right. Let's switch these out.
But yeah, it was really fun this school year. She just went back to school like 2 weeks ago, helping her find her style. And so
Ah,
like the wide leg pants are back in style. And so she likes the wide leg and the big t-shirt. And I'm like, okay, like, is this my dream? Like, I want like a preppy, like cute,
oh,
like I didn't get to go into that phase because we didn't have a lot of money growing up either.
yeah.
But instead of putting like what I want for her, I'm just letting her be. And she's so
Mm.
cute and I love it.
Oh,
And I get to
oh,
be here for it.
oh my gosh. I'm so happy for her. Gabby, right? Gabby.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so happy for her and so happy for you because you get to just be.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're witnessing the part of you who wants her to be preppy, right? Is that part of you who's like kind of wanting to live through her.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I hear you, but that's not how I'm choosing to parent. That's so
Yeah.
freeing. Yeah.
It is, and she like tells me things I would have never told my mom, like
Mhm.
boys stuff, and like
Yeah.
growing up in a Hispanic family, absolutely can never talk about boys ever.
No,
Like you better not
never.
even be thinking about, and
Yeah.
so getting to hear like all her middle school drama
Don't fast
and
forward now.
boys and just being able to listen without giving any kind of judgment, just being present for her, that's something I probably wouldn't be able to do 10 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
I have to speak to something that you mentioned. And because I get this feeling that for those of you listening, this might have hit your heart too. When Crystal said, I wish I could go back and give them a different experience. I want to remind all of us women, and I'm listening to these words as well, is that we did the best we could at that time with the consciousness and awareness that we had at the time.
Yeah.
And look at you. And for those of you listening, think about it. Look at you. Like you noticed it, you're aware of it, and like you are changing it. Right?
Exactly. That's the
Yeah.
important part, right?
Yes. Yeah. How liberating. Girl, that's so amazing.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
and think of it, Nina, because if you stay stuck, I hate feeling stuck. I felt stuck in prior relationships and like different times, like stuck at a job that I hated, stuck not knowing how to make more money for myself. Like I was a mom at 19 years old.
Mm,
Um, so I went through a childhood of not very much money,
mhm.
like poverty level food stamps,
Yeah.
and then had a kid as a kid, basically. I'm 19
Yeah.
years old, and then like trying to go through your 20s. And I tell my 18-year-old this all the time, like, have fun, do whatever you want, you have
Uh-huh.
no kids. Like, do
Yes.
whatever you want, like have so much fun, because once you have a kid, it changes everything.
Yeah.
um but going through all of the things like poverty, getting a healthy money mindset. I was thinking about that this morning, like how important it is to have a good money mindset.
Mhm.
And that took me 10 years at
Yeah.
least to
Yeah.
learn and
Mhm.
figure out and feel good about money. And money is just money. Like I have no emotional attachment to it anymore.
Mhm.
Whereas I remember crying in sixth grade because somebody stole my $3 for lunch,
Oh my
like
gosh.
crying,
Yes.
and then feeling ashamed about crying in the principal's office. And he's like, "Do you
Mm.
want me to give you the $3?" And I'm like, "No, I want my $3." It's like
Yes.
so silly. But I mean, looking back, it's been I'm grateful that I went through it. My kids don't have that same, like my kids never experienced poverty, maybe like my eldest child, but
Yeah.
he probably doesn't remember,
Yeah.
and he never experienced it to the extent that I did as a child.
Mhm.
And they're going to turn 18 with credit scores in the 720s. Like I
Right.
help, like one kid already has a credit score in the 700s. And like being able to, that's completely flipping what I
Yeah.
came.
Oh, I'm just celebrating you so hard. Not that we have to like reach for these goals that you did in life to be celebrated. We
Yeah.
don't. But I can just see when before we started recording, you had mentioned like the pressure it was to be the oldest daughter and the pressure that you've had in your life to in that area, just like
Yeah.
being the oldest kid of how many?
5 altogether.
5 together. Yeah,
Mhm.
5 altogether. And that pressure, I know growing up in a Latino household that you're supposed to take care of your siblings,
Yeah.
right? And that can be a lot.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to survive. And then you turn
Yeah.
19 and you're a kid and you have a kid and you probably, my guess is you already were like, I know how to take care of kids
I
because
know.
I've been doing
Yeah.
it
Been
my
changing
whole life,
diapers since I was
right?
8 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're still a kid and you're, like you're going through and then growing through and, waking up to some of these things that you didn't have to keep with you forever. And so imagine your 40s, right? And
Yeah.
50s and 60s liberated from these things.
Yeah. You're not stuck in, dead end jobs. You can make a
Yeah.
plan. You can frame it differently and
Yeah.
see, what are your options. You're not stuck in relationships or friendships that are not serving you.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, you can feel the ick right underneath your heart in your stomach. You can feel the ick if it's
Yeah.
not the right friendship or relationship. And I
Mm.
would just say, like, start trusting that, because your body's going to give you signs. And if you ignore them, it's just going to get worse. Like that anxiety is going to zap in, and at some point you're just going to be like, what am I doing? What am I doing?
Yeah, mic drop. Like I have this, I think that's a really great place for us to come to an end today. What an amazing thing to end with because I had this question that I wanted to end with you on, and that powerful statement you said that you can feel in your body when I love it. You can feel the ick, you can feel when it's out of alignment with
Yes.
where you want to go, right? And there's so many areas of my life where I can feel that way and I'm ignoring it. I'm ignoring
Yeah.
it, right? Um, so my last question that I have for you, and this might be a doozy, but
Okay.
I think it'll be fun too. Um, if you had 5 minutes left on this earth, just 5 minutes, and you want to contribute to humanity in some way,
Mm.
what would you focus the topic on? What would you say to humanity?
If I
What?
had 5 minutes left and
Mhm.
for humanity, I would say it is not selfish to love yourself and pour into yourself first.
Hmm. Oh, thank you so much for that. Oh, thank you, Crystal, for being here.
Thank you, Nina.
Yeah, this was a powerful conversation for mothers, for women in general.
Yes,
If you're a mother, if you're going to be a mother, if you're not a mother, but this might help you see some of the areas where you're holding yourself back, right?
absolutely.
Just by beliefs, limiting beliefs about how you should, in air quotes, that should be in the world. So thank you for bringing your light. Thank you for bringing your energy and thank you for sharing your story with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Mhm. So
Excited.
before we end and let everyone go, please share with us how everybody here can connect with you.
Yes. Okay. So I have an Instagram page. It's crystalmendez.co. And I have a website, lovemoreliveblessed.com, and a podcast with the same name, Love More Live Blessed Podcast.
Awesome. Yes, go check her out. Her Instagram page is fire. And her podcast is so much more fire and lots of really amazing tips just for daily life, right? Um, yeah, thank you again for listening, and I'll see you on the next podcast.
Bye, Nina. Thank you.
Bye-bye.